Hey, we're at Exposed with K only at Baliradio.net. Right now we're at Nyoman Karsa Bungalow at Ubud. We're not in Kuta anymore. And we have here Janice from BAWA Bali. We're going to talk a lot about the Bali dog issue, about the animal shelter, about what BAWA Bali does. And actually there's a ton. Now, can we talk about you first as a person? How long have you been in Bali?
I first came to Bali when Kuta was a small village in 1973. I was traveling around the world.
1973?
India, Africa, Afghanistan, but I kept coming back to Bali. And I rescued and adopted my first Bali dog 30 years ago. And really, people say, why did you move to Bali? Because I rescued a dog and I couldn't leave it, so I moved here because I have a dog. We were rescuing dogs for decades, really, and then driving injured animals down to vets in Denpasar. But as there were more people, more roads, more cars, more injuries, more problems, we realized we needed to start something in this area. And it really was driven by the problem. I did not set off to start an animal welfare organization. I have a jewelry company that tries to support BAWA. And so really it was just a matter of necessity. When I first came here in 1973, Bali was like one big village and dogs were free roaming and they had a very special relationship with the Balinese. But now, breed dogs are more fashionable and Bali's dogs don't really have fresh streams to drink out of and they don't have enough food and offerings.
And there's so many cars back and forth.
I know, it's really...
So, you came here in 1973, came back and forth. When did you decide to just, I'm staying?
20 years ago. I moved here permanently. I've had this office for 18 years when there was only rice fields all around and where we're sitting now didn't exist. So there's been a lot of changes. And with those changes, it's gotten a lot worse for the animals, a lot worse.
And so, when was BAWA Bali founded?
Well, informally, when I rescued my first dog 30 years ago, but formally, 8 years ago, formally, where we applied for permits and we opened up a real clinic and started running a sterilization program.
How did it start? Was it just you? Did you have some other people who also
Actually,
supported
in the beginning, Yudhishthira was still a foundation and they worked in Denpasar. And I found out about them and begged them to come to this side of the island to help us, but they were so busy in Denpasar they couldn't. So finally they would come when they could, every week or every 2 weeks. And then Bali Street Dog Fund Australia, I met them and they offered us a van specially for our side of the island in Ubud, and they funded the first sterilization program, and Yudhishthira helped me get that set up. I didn't want to do it. I'm not a vet. I didn't know anything. I just knew that we needed help, and so no one else was going to do it, and I had to.
So you actually do it yourself?
I don't do the surgeries myself, but I hire the vets, and we stock the medicine, and we have a clinic and run all the programs. Yes, I do that myself.
Tell us about what BAWA Bali does in specific, more specific.
Well, we run many programs. We have a free clinic that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's an adoption center. We don't call it a shelter because we don't really believe shelters are a good thing in Asia or the world. We believe that all animals should have a home and be found a home because shelters never have the capacity to take in the number of dogs that would need to be sheltered. So adoption is a big part of it, but we don't just adopt to anyone. We run education programs in public schools 5 days a week, and the children can apply to adopt a dog, and we inspect the homes, and we're very fussy with who we adopt our animals to make sure they're safe and well cared for.
To make sure it's a forever home.
Exactly, and we run contests, so the child that's taken the best care of their animal in a 6 to 9 month period wins a great big prize, or they can do drawings and poetry and stories about animal welfare and caring for their dogs, and it's really a successful program and the one that I think is the most important, because the only way we'll have welfare for animals is to change the people, and to change the elders is very difficult, so teaching the children about empathy, compassion, and caring for animals is just the most important. program, in my opinion. But we also do ambulance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're on call for injured animals, dogs hit by cars. When the rabies epidemic was really out of control, I was the hotline. You would call me whether you were human and were bitten or you saw a rabid dog. We ran the island's rabies quarantine center out of our clinic, and that was frightening because I saw so many rabid dogs in Barrie. That's another story. But we also run a humane population program, spay-neutering for the animals so that they don't keep having more unwanted puppies. So we work village to village every day, 6 days a week. And
You actually go door to door.
we actually set up in the Banjar, and people will bring their dogs to us, or we run around the streets door to door catching dogs in nets. And if they're in not healthy condition, or they look like they had a virus in the past, or that they've had too many puppies, then we will sterilize them. Of course, if they have a guardian or an owner, then we would ask permission. But we work in the villages doing a sterilization program. So otherwise, there's so many puppies that end up on the streets, the beaches, the temples, and the markets. So we rescue puppies. I do that myself every morning and every night on the way to the office. And
it's an everyday job, round the
it
clock.
is an everyday 24/7 job. And we do community programs with elders, with the women groups in the communities. We teach them about rabies and what to do if you're bitten by a dog. We run advocacy and trying to give seminars to the government, working with the Hindu Dharma Association to teach people why animal welfare is important. We have so many horrible issues in Bali. So we run seminars, and we do a lot, and writing letters to the newspapers. We've just started a weekly column in the paper about animal welfare.
I saw that on Facebook.
Yes, exciting. And really just learning how we can be better and how we can do more and work smarter. And we get a lot, not only dogs and not only cats, there's a lot of chained monkeys here. There's a lot of endangered animals that are for sale. Oh my gosh. We get birds, we get sun bears, we get you name it. We end up with pangolins, which is like an armadillo. Last week I was walking through a village and I saw men with lots of rifles, and they were shooting raccoons from the trees to make raccoon satay.
What?
And so they had all these raccoons on sticks, and so we had a spontaneous education program in the village. I literally go house to house and I see caged animals where they've clipped the wings of the birds or eagles or cockatoos that are endangered, but the government's not really capable or don't want to do anything about the problem. So wildlife trade isn't our specialty. It's something we're learning about, but it's definitely an issue in Bali. You wouldn't think that, but people are mating lions and tigers, and they're creating an animal called a liger, and people keep them.
Exist?
They do, and I could send you to the places where they have them, and they keep sun bears, baboons, and other endangered animals in cages in dark sausage shops in Denpasar, believe it or not. We also, dolphin pools. We'll lobby against dolphin pools and the cruelty of traveling dolphin circuses. So it's not just dogs and cats.
You just extrapolate the problem that I thought was this big to that big.
Yeah, we're Bali, and sometimes I think, was I crazy to start Bali Animal Welfare Association? Because that's a really big problem, and we get emails. I must get 100 emails a day and calls from tourists and people. Today we had 3 about horses in Kuta, and the horse carts, the what do you call dokas in Kuta?
Dokar?
Yes, and the horses, it's hot, they don't have enough fresh water, they're skinny, and yet without animal welfare laws, there's very little we can do about it other than provide medical care, free food and water, and education, but that's not sustainable. We really, really need enforceable animal welfare laws and legislations in Indonesia. One would not think a place like Bali, spiritual, we're in the middle of Ubud, you know, Eat, Pray, Love was filmed here, that we would have such cruelty to animals. We're lucky that our sterilization program is funded by Bali Street Dog Fund Australia.
Okay.
And our community education program is funded by IFA, International Foundation of Animal Welfare, who also gives us an emergency fund, and they've funded a head vet manager now at our clinic, and so we're really grateful for their support. But everything else I manage. I have a jewelry company, Janice Girardi Designs, everybody. Buy my jewelry.
Let's say that one more time.
Janice Girardi Designs, or you can Google Bali Animal Welfare Association for the information.
Another thing, how do you get your, how do you run the facility? I'm sure you have staff, volunteers.
We do. We have about, 50 local Balinese and some Javanese staff, and the vets are all locally Indonesian. But we rely on volunteers to come, especially to socialize and love the animals. They walk around the clinic and they're on different shifts, and we really rely on our volunteers also to teach our staff and the locals, how do you handle an animal, how do you socialize it, how do you love it, even just cleaning out the cages or the runs, and taking in neonates and helping feed them. Even tourists who come, who find little kittens, say, well, I'm here for a couple weeks so I can keep it until then. And so then we provide the formula if needed, and we give them advice and care and allow them to care for the animals, because they're always healthier outside of a clinic situation.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the adoption process. What kind of stuff do people need to adopt, first of all?
Well, you send an email if you can to info@bawabali.com, or call us 081-138-9004. But we will come and make sure that you have a safe area, that you have a safe yard for your animal, and we'll give you proper puppy, kitten, dog care, and make sure that you're going to be a responsible pet guardian, because we don't just want to get rid of the dogs.
Yes.
We want to make sure they have healthy, loving homes.
And also, it needs to be a permanent home. It's a forever home. What about fostering? What do you need to foster?
Please, again, contact us, info@bawabali.com, and we will come and we'll talk with you and we'll assess the situation. If you have young children, we'll make sure that you have an animal that's not afraid of children, or a small kitten perhaps, and we'll teach you how to bottle feed it and to care for it. And if you have a week or more, we don't like people to say we're going to foster for a year. It's not really fair for the animal because they get attached.
Because they get attached.
So really, the situation really depends on the animal and your circumstances.
Volunteering. How to volunteer?
Volunteer. Again, send us an email. There's a volunteer form on our website, www.bawabali.com. Fill out the volunteer form, but to volunteer hands-on at our clinic and adoption center, you need to be vaccinated against rabies. And the good thing about being vaccinated for rabies is it has a very long-term protection. So sometimes 10, 15, 20 years later, people are tested and they still have a very high antibody response. So when you're living in Asia and you're living on an island where there still are rabies cases, if you have children, if you're an athlete, or if you love animals and like rescuing them, please get pre-vaccinated for rabies. Having said that, we need you to be pre-vaccinated if you're hands-on with the animals at our adoption center. But if you want to volunteer and hand out brochures, if you want to work in our office, come help us in the shops. There's so many places where people can help. T-shirt
designers, even organizers, artists, calling out everybody. Whatever your skills, you call BAWA Bali at
081-138-9004 or info@bawabali.com, or visit our website, which is being updated. If you're a website designer, graphic designer, we need you too.
Everybody is needed for BAWA, because seriously, Janice is funding this mainly from her own pocket and donations. So we need everybody as much as possible.
Be a friend of BAWA. Make a monthly donation, no matter how small it is. We really need that operationally to keep going. We can only help with your help. We're in this together.
Can we donate food for the animals as well?
Absolutely donate food.
There
If you're at
you
a
go.
restaurant, you have leftover food and you can keep it in the fridge until you can bring it up. Anything.
Anything at all.
Old
Anything will
towels, old sarongs. If you can think of it, we need it.
help. Okay. So you can help in a smaller scale, in a bigger scale. You can help with your time, you can help with your money, you can help with your food, you can help with your clothes, help with everything. Definitely contact BAWA. Go to www.bawabali.com. And that's it for our show today from
Ubud Bali.
Ubud Bali. We're not in Kuta anymore. Case out.